Chat Nuff, boys.
Yo, we run chat the run we now. You don't know.
First of all, welcome to everybody who's locked in and tuned in. We are Arawak Community Trust, and today we're doing a podcast on men's health. And of course, it's all about Chat Nuff. And we've got 5 men on the panel, and little old me, of course. So today is all about men's health. But firstly, we need to introduce ourselves. So from this end to that end, introduce yourself and let them know a little bit about yourself. And of course, I want to know how old you are.
Whoa.
Hey.
Just drop that part.
Drop it.
All right. I'll start first then. I'm Clive Tennant. Born in Jamaica. Came here when I was 10. Been here ever since. Ripe old age of 70. I'm a carpenter. Specialize in fitting kitchens. I've got 2 children and 3 stepchildren. And anything else that will do?
That's it for now.
That'll do you? Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Your turn now.
Well, my name is Richard Greenwood. I think I'm the second youngest one in the group, right out of these men in here. I'm a DJ, also a warehouse manager. Got 2 boys and about 100 that pick me. Yeah, I'm 42. Yeah, 43, 42, something around that age. I'm forget. I get old now. 43, sorry. Yeah. So, you know, you got already.
Evening. My name is Selwyn Curtis Brewster. I'm an electrician by trade. Okay. I have 4 children that I've owned up to at the moment. I am part of the Arawak group, and we're here to talk about prostate cancer, I believe. My age, 67.
Good evening. My name is Charles Kelly. Born of parents from the St. Vincent Islands of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Born in 1960, so you can work out my age. My first career was down the pit, meaning the mine, a coal mine. In fact, retrained in IT, so that's what I'm doing now. I have 3 children, and 4 grandsons, and yeah, that's my bit. Thank you.
Hi, hello. I'm Paul Donaldson, school teacher. Been originally trained as a chef, and then about 25 years ago went back to university and did my degree, and then worked with children ever since. I've got 3 children. 4 children. I do apologise. 4 children. And 2 grandchildren. And I'm 54.
Okay. So, like I said, this is all about men's health. So I feel like we need to start. The first question is, what does men's health mean to you as men? Who's going to kick it off?
Wow. I suppose if I think about it, in my younger days, when you say men's health, I think about the Men's Health magazine, which was that man's magazine that used to cover. Really, it was more like of a fitness type of magazine that did touch on very, very light men's health topics. But that which was like a glossy kind of magazine, had training routines in, that type of thing, and kind of encouraged men to try and be healthy. That was my first take on it. But over the years, as I've got older, there's a different perspective in regards to men talking about their health, really, in regards to all men's health. Because men in general don't talk.
Okay. Anyone else want to jump in? What does men's health mean to you? You must all have an idea. So I'm going to pick on all of you.
All right. I'll start it off now after Paul.
Okay.
Like Paul said, when we were younger and we were all fit and healthy and everything, when we thought of men's health, all we thought of was sports, how healthy you are, how much time you go to the gym. It's not until now we're getting a bit older, it's looking at it from a sickness type of attitude rather than just how many muscles you've got and how many, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now we're really looking at the sickness aspect of everything because we're a bit older. And I suppose to young people growing up today, they don't think of it in the long term, like how healthy you are inside. Because you see some people, I know people who died on the treadmill. You understand what I mean? So real and truly, fitness, health is a whole different ballgame.
Yeah. I hear that. What about yourself, Richie? You're smiling at me, so you must know something.
I'm just going to second what Clive said.
Okay.
There's nothing more to say after Clive and Paul said what they have to say, really and truly.
Okay.
Yeah, as younger age, like myself, growing up, we never think about like health that way, like interior health over your heart, stuff like that, just more fitness, more how much strength on, you know. We can't even say certain things because, you know, we have to keep it clean, you know, then we're there. But just that in general, really and truly, but all the you get, listen to the elders, them, you know.
Yeah.
Kind of take a toll upon me too, so I have to kind of think about it certain ways, yeah.
Okay. So, you know, Clive, you mentioned about as you're getting older now, there's things on your mind in regards to sickness. What is on your mind?
Well, the most important thing at the moment, where I'm concerned, is prostate cancer. That seems to be the big topic at the moment. And for some reason, obviously, I've been diagnosed with prostate cancer myself.
Okay.
Right. And I thought there's not many people you want to hear about it. When I went to inquiries, a lot of my friends have the same problem. You understand what I mean? I phoned up somebody last week to let him know the position. I only found out he's had an operation 2 weeks ago and the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening, if it's just people more aware of what's going on, but it seemed to be top of the subject at the moment. The health, the hospital are on top of it. The doctors are bringing everything. I'm thinking, what the hell's going on? But I suppose, like, women had breast cancer some time ago, and it wasn't looked at much, and now they've got it under control. Now it's our turn. You understand what I mean? It's a man them turn. And when you get to around about my age, you have to start taking note of what's been said.
I hear that. What about yourself, guys? Prostate cancer?
Yeah, I could just recently I had basically a physical and the PSA test, which gives you an idea of the level in your urine, depending on the amount. They go by that, and also by symptoms. Some guys don't have symptoms, like my friend. He didn't have any, but it was enlarged, so they had to go in and cut a piece to test it. What they call it? Biopsy. And that came back clear. So obviously, he did a good thing in a way, just to put his mind at ease.
Yeah.
But I think it's brought awareness, because I speak to friends and they tell me about it, etc. And I'll pass it on to my associates and friends and family.
I hear that. Yeah. What about Curtis, Richie, Paul? What are your thoughts on prostate cancer?
My thoughts on prostate cancer is I was diagnosed with prostate cancer last year. Okay. I've since had a prostatectomy, which is where they remove your prostate gland.
Yeah.
Which isn't as bad as what people make out. You know, losing your prostate. A lot of men are probably frightened of it because of their sexual prowess.
Yeah.
And this is a big thing with blokes. A lot of blokes do not take the examination of prostate cancer because they're frightened of what they might find out.
Okay. Yeah.
I've been through it. It's not an easy one to get through, but it is a comfortable one that can be overcome through the doctors that we have today.
Yeah.
Science has moved on so much my father suffered from prostate cancer, which is why I had the biopsy in the first place.
Yeah.
Because believe it or not, in black men, prostate cancer is hereditary.
Yeah.
It's passed on from father to son.
Okay.
And I suppose that's what happened to me.
I didn't know it's hereditary.
It is, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Again, that's the benefit of talking.
Exactly,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
Since I've had my prostate, I've spoken to so many guys about this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a few have taken it on board,
Mm.
and hopefully they'll do the right thing and get themselves tested.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, so my training partner, we used to gym from the age of 19 together 5 times a week. He's a physiotherapist, and even though we don't train together anymore, we're still good friends. And I just hadn't heard from. We touch base every few weeks,
Yeah.
And I was shocked when I had that conversation, and he said to me that he's got prostate cancer,
Okay.
and we're the same age. And for me, at that point, I'd heard about it. I'd heard of other people who were further away from me in regards to friendships and relationships. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this guy is close to me because, because of our relationship of training and everything that we've kind of done together, and watched each other and seen our own children grow up.
Yeah.
So for me, and obviously knowing that black men are at higher risk, I decided to go and see my GP, and I went with the intention of, I want a full proper MOT of everything,
Yeah.
So, and it started, I had a good conversation, and I have to say my GP was absolutely brilliant. I spoke to a female GP and a male GP, and I spoke to a nurse in all the processes that I went through.
Yeah.
And I have to say that they were amazing, informative, leaflets, and well-versed in all the questions and the worry that it is. I'm pleased to say that for me, everything was fine. But I do think it's important that men do start to really take a different kind of attitude, because if we go back and look at it in an honest way, say like my father's generation, right?
Yeah.
There was this kind of stigma of like, you know what, if you can walk and you can still move your hands, you're fit for work. There was don't complain, just get on with it.
Yeah.
Nothing for complaining about, you know what I mean? There's always people and stuff like that. And there's a whole different way now. And me personally, because of things that I see my father went through.
Yeah.
And his suffering, which then later in life made it, a lot of things came to, I always said to myself when those things happened, and my brothers, that we're going about it in a different way, So I rather knock the door and ask questions rather than wait
when it's too late.
When it's too late.
Yeah, I hear that. What about yourself, Richie, being the youngest man?
Boy, oh boy. You know about them elders, but me a Jamaican, and no man not touch me, That me I say, But as Curtis said, it's like you say, it's passed on from generation to generation. I don't know about it being in my parents' side of the family, both sides. I don't know anything about it because they're old school.
Yeah.
As Paul said, once you can work and it not kill you right now, you work and do what you have to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I've been brought up. If you're in a pain, you still have to do what you have to do same way. Right? That's how my dad was. But me not gonna lie. Me not make nobody touch me,
I think though.
Let me answer that. Then.
Yeah.
Answer. I always say to people, right? I'm not one to hide my head in the sand. You understand? I mean, I rather know and know what to do rather than try and pretend it's not happening. That's my attitude in life always. You understand me? And like you were saying, Paul, I find the doctors very helpful, very informative. You've had a good friend
Mm.
who's got it. I've had a good friend who's died from it.
Yeah.
Mm.
You understand me?
Mm.
And I always say to people, years ago, there were things to be frightened about cancer. Not anymore. You understand me? There's all sorts of different type of cancer.
Mm.
And as an example, I've been diagnosed with it,
Yeah.
and mine, they can't operate on.
Right.
You understand me? But you know all I've got to do? Take one little teeny pill. That's all I've got to take.
Mm.
One little teeny pill. You know.
What does that do for you, Clive?
What?
Just so people can understand that pill, what does it do for you?
Right, because prostate cancer starts in the prostate.
Yeah.
You understand me? In your man parts, right?
Yeah.
But it can spread,
Yeah.
right? So when I've had some tests done and that, and it spread to a small area in my spine,
Okay.
they can't operate on your spine.
Yeah.
And me don't want them to operate from the
Yeah.
spine because it can go either way. You understand me? But what they've given me is a small pill that you're going to take for the rest of your life,
Mm.
and it suppress the cancer
Mhm.
so it doesn't grow.
Okay.
Yeah.
You understand me?
Mhm.
And sometimes people are worrying about the wrong thing, right? I mean, I'm glad Richie's here because he's a voice of some of the young people who don't understand,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
I had a friend of mine who, for some reason, don't know if he got tests late or whatever. And this is the choice I always says to people. You can have your opinion that you don't want nobody to touch me and this, that, and the other. The alternative is to die. That's the best way I can put it to you, right? You don't have to make nobody touch you. You don't want nobody to touch you. It don't matter. You can always die.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean?
Mhm.
I prefer to face things and find out the facts. And I'm thinking, I know people who's got cancer.
Yeah.
Right? And they got a bag of tablets. You take them, I walk in chemist.
Yeah.
I have got one little tablet to take. I have got some effects about it because it makes you sweat a bit more, right?
Mhm.
But
I know.
you see,
I tell, yeah.
right?
Mm.
But if that's all I've got to worry about, me not have nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
You understand me?
Mm.
I'm gonna grow up to see my I'm growing up. I'm gonna see my children grow up. I'm gonna go on holiday. I'm gonna play my sports. I'm still going to the gym,
Mm.
and I've got
You know-
prostate cancer.
I need to ask you
That
all
man.
because 1 in 4 black men are diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Mm.
Yeah. However, culturally, it's always been an issue around prostate cancer and what Richie said. So I know you said about if you die and so on and so on. But is it a cultural thing? Tell the people, like, let us have this discussion. I feel like we need to be
Well,
open and honest.
I think right. I think we just need to be brutally honest here, right? Because, right, Richie, you're 42, yeah, and I remember kind of like how your attitude is then. I'm kind of like saying the same thing. Let's be honest there, right? What has to happen is a finger has to get inserted into your anus to check for your prostate. Now I remember like being 10 years ago, like thinking to myself, nah, man, that them things ain't happening with me. Do you know what I mean? I'm not doing those kind of things and stuff like that. And nobody's gonna do it. But now, 10 years on, I've now seen my friend. I've seen how this guy was like a broad set man like me, you know, like carrying like 18 stone, and he goes down to 12 stone, and he lost so much weight, etc., and stuff like that. And it's like Clive said, you know, you every person has to have their own choice, and you either choose to live or you choose to die. And my choice is, and that's my personal opinion, is that it's a small discomfort. We have to look at it, and men need to just kind of like go, hold on a minute, right? Ladies have to go through cervical smears.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Where they have to sit there with their legs akin and have somebody insert themselves, right? They have to put their breasts into machines, right? And deal with that. It's only now, like as a school teacher, I've had to see young girls deal with a thing called period poverty, which we're not talking about girls today, but what I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of things that young people and women are dealing with, right? And men, they need to just kind of step up and go, hold on a minute, right? We need to just like, we're not doing those things for any kind of, it's a medical procedure that can enhance your life and give you a better quality or make sure that you can live a little bit longer for your life. And I think that once that kind of stigma, I mean, Curtis and Clive, he's obviously talks about his pill. Curtis has got over it, and he talked about his procedures. And they're two black men who can be shining examples of, you know, it can be done and you can get through it. I've had the procedure, yeah. It's a little bit uncomfortable, but it's no more than like when you're standing and somebody's punching you in the face as a man or something like that, or you've been fighting with your brother.
5 seconds.
I feel like Richie, you need to say your.
All right,
view,
let me say something on this.
Yeah.
All right, so me personally, and my family personally, we don't like hospitals. We don't like doctors. So that's how I've been brought up. That's how I've been seen in front of my eyes. So for someone to be touching me at that spot, no, that naga happen.
That's why I said it's your opinion.
But there's a next way. What I've learned, there's a next way you can do a test by blood.
I will run it through to you bit by bit, right?
Yeah.
Because when it comes to that finger in the anus business, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Long way down the line. Long way down the line, right? You go get a blood test done.
Yeah.
I don't even feel the needle when it went in. And what I do is when I go to, I don't like hospitals myself, right?
Yeah.
From the minute I sit down that chair, I shut my eye. You understand what I mean? But when she finished, she goes, don't know, wait, what? You don't even feel it. That's just a blood test. Then the blood tests go away.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean? And then check it and do all that sort of thing. When it comes to the it asks you all about your symptoms and all them business. If you don't have none of them symptoms, it doesn't even get to that, right? Now, I know where Richie's coming from because when I got to that stage, because it's a long way down the line before I got to that stage. When it got to that stage, and I saw the doctor. Listen, I rang up. I knew the nurse,
Tell us,
right?
Clive,
I knew the nurse. So I rang up the nurse and I said, "Do me a favor." You see that doctor with a big sausage finger? I said, no, I gotta be honest. You know what I mean? I said, you see that doctor with a big sausage finger? I said, we can't get somebody else to do it. She goes, well, I said, there's a little Filipino nurse in there, looks so sweet. She goes, I'll make sure she does it. There's nothing wrong with that at all. You understand what I mean? So you still got choices. You understand what I mean?
It naga.
One of the biggest issues we have with this is that. You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
One of the biggest issues is that men do not recognize the symptoms of prostate problems.
Okay.
They ignore it. If they go into the toilet frequently, they'll say, well, I've had too much to drink last night or what have you.
Yeah.
Right? So I think we need to be educated on symptoms. Because if young people could, because this thing can happen as early as 35 symptoms. And if they catch it early enough, as Clive says, all you'd be taking it is a pill rather than the invasive stuff that Richie doesn't like, you know, and what I went through.
Well, I actually have a list here of symptoms.
Go.
So, firstly, it says frequent urination, which you mentioned.
That's exactly what I found.
Weak or interrupted urine flow.
Yeah.
Painful urination or ejaculation. Blood in urine or semen. Persistent pain in the back, hips or pelvis. And unexplained weight loss or loss of appetite.
We can say something from that one there. The first one.
Yeah.
Me have a weak bladder from day one. Everywhere me go, me tap on pee all over the place. Yeah. So that's just natural for me there. So
okay.
Yeah. Rest of the stuff them. Me not have no problem. I have back pain, yes. But the back pain me have is lifting the work what I do and speaker box.
You know, one of the problem really took my attention. Because if you know your body, you know something ain't right. I'm getting up too many times in the night time, so I knew something was wrong, right?
Yeah.
Frequent urination in the daytime, every hour on the hour. I couldn't set my watch by it.
Yeah.
But you know what shook me up? When I looked in the toilet and I saw blood in the urine.
Okay.
I didn't need no more plumping. I knew something is definitely wrong here. And Richie, I know you. And I understand where you're coming from. If you see blood in your urine, you'll find yourself a doctor so freaking fast you wouldn't believe it. Trust me, because you know yourself, something ain't right here. You understand?
Yeah, that's why I say for me as a younger person and younger generation out there too, seeing all these stuff and hearing, they won't hear all these stuff. They
Yeah.
definitely won't hear all this stuff, yeah. But being around the Arawak team is more elders for us, for me. And hearing from your side, Charles, Paul, Cheryl, Charlene, you know, it's a lot of things I've taken on, yeah. But me still not make nobody touch me, see what I mean? Still not gonna happen. But no, but on a serious note though, if me see you in my blood,
Yeah.
well, by blood in my urine, yeah, me not gonna lie. Me gonna find a doctor. I see me like where Charlene they say me have to look at thing for me jaw, yeah. And me call her and say, oh, Bez, my jaw shut up. And she
Yeah.
said, you
Go
have to
to
go to the
the-
hospital.
Mm.
And I asked her how long it take for going like yeah. Now when we go to the hospital, how long it take to see somebody until them start mess about. And that's the thing I don't like. Once you start messing about as someone to be looking after someone's health, that's where I get angry. And that's where I don't want to have nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
You understand? That's me personally, a generation of my generation.
Yeah. What are you saying, Clive? I seen your face screw up right there.
Let me put something to some young people out there that might be watching. You see, when you're young and fit, I have been fit all my life. I mean, doing kickboxing, I'm cycling, I'm doing all sorts of fittest man you can play. I even till now I still play badminton. Doesn't matter how fit you are. When you see blood in your urine, you will take a whole different stance. You understand me? If nothing you see me? I'm used to fighting. You understand me? Champion for how long? No problem. When I saw blood in my urine, what did that? There's a famous quote. You think things are important until your health is affected. Then the only thing that's important is your health. You understand me? So all you guys, you're playing football, you're running around, you're doing all the things. It don't matter. When you see blood in your urine, you can't do anything about it apart from go to the doctor. Very important.
And I think you touched on a good point there, Clive, because, you know, talking to a lot of, like, you know, my friends and stuff like that, like Sir Chris Hoy, you know, the famous, you know, Olympic champion, you know, like, I know that you was a sportsman and stuff like that. So you know that this guy, he was an Olympian, so he would have had to do regular blood tests. He'd have had dietitians, his health, and yet still, this is, and he's got the terminal one that he's got a, and I think that certainly talking to some of my white friends, it was kind of, you know, and I think it was about 10, 12 months ago now that it came out. It was kind of, it has become something that is getting talked about a lot more for men. And I hear where Rich is coming from, because I remember at 42 on a Friday night, I'm in the pub and, you know, like I'm either meeting up with some of the rugby lads and on the sesh, you know what I mean? And the thought of a podcast 20 years ago or men sitting down and talking 20 years ago is completely different, you know what I mean? So, you know, and times have just changed.
Yeah.
Times have just changed, and you know, and I respect your how Rich is feeling, because I remember feeling like at 42 you still feel like you're 32. You know, you still have that energy, you still have that vibrance for life, and you still have that almost kind of don't care kind of attitude. But then suddenly, like in that 10 years time, you then wisdom starts to kick in, and you start to look at things a little bit differently, and you start to see people that you grew up with, and you start going to their funerals, or you're here, or you can't make it because you have work, and you know you'd like to go and pay your respects, but you can't because the world doesn't allow you to from a working point of view. And so you then spend that day reflecting on all those things that you remember, the nice things about that person, and then you're thinking, how can I change my life, or what can I do, because you suddenly value it, you know?
Yeah.
And like for me, I still remember there was you know, I grew up in a predominantly white area. My parents were the first black family to buy a house in Wyken in 1965, right? And like when we moved down there was a guy we went to church with called Hugh Selwyn, God rest his soul, right? And his mum and dad, right, used to his mum would invite us round, and she used to cook like an English, and Hugh would come round and he'd eat Sunday dinner at ours and stuff. And the discipline and everything was the same. But then Hugh moved down to Bristol, and then I got a message from his wife to say he's got cancer. So I said to her, look, you know, I'll contact my brother and I'll give it a few weeks and I'm going to come down. He didn't have those few weeks. And so when things like that happen, as you get older in your fingers, you start to look at things differently. Do you know what I mean? And that's why, you know, I can have that conversation. But I've also got a lot of respect for you, Richard, because as I said, at 42, like on a Friday night, you know what I mean? I'm drinking and I'm dressed. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, and I'm out. You know what I mean? I'm not sitting down having this conversation. And if somebody was going to try and do that, I'm like, I got time for that, man. I got, you know.
You know what, Paul? To be honest with you, it's the past 3 years I'm not going out like that anymore because I've stopped drinking.
Right.
I used to go out and drink a lot. I was a heavy drinker. And since I stopped drinking, I don't need to be on the road. Don't need to be seeing this person, that person, or that person. I'm more intent to stay home and stay with the family or work on my vehicle.
Yeah.
That's it, really.
Yeah.
But for my age, doing this podcast right now, it's good because this can be shown to my son, it can be shown to their kids, it can be shown to the next generation further on.
Yeah.
It's giving them an inside look of what to be. Because remember, you know, even though it's prostate cancer, there's more things what we in generations us don't know. There's more things out there what we don't know. There's more things in our body what we don't know. So as Clive said, there's many stages of cancer. I lost a friend the other day of cancer. Yeah, same thing. The doctor gave him 5 to 6 years, and he did 8 years. Yeah, so I understand it, but for me, no, it's just I can't do that part. I can't go in the hospital. I can't go to the GP. I can't do this. I'm signed up with the GP, and I can bet you any money. Go to the GP and ask the GP about me. They don't know nothing. One time they see me, and that's it. They don't see me again. If I'm ill, I got Charlene. Charlene, I'm not feeling well. Yeah.
But again, I think that can be a cultural thing because you sound just exactly as how my dad used to talk. Me now I go sit down there and I talk to no doctor about me a big man. When I talk to nobody about
my time, I talk to him, I lose money.
Yeah. all those kind of things, right? But then I seen what happened when my dad turned 58. And it was suddenly, he had stroke, he had cataracts, he had prostate, it literally for like 12 years, it was one thing after another because even when he had the stroke and stuff like that, and he was paralyzed and stuff, and I went and seen him, and then we nursed him back and stuff, he was again pushing my way, but don't want, and it was hard to try and get. And so me and my brothers seen, and when we were talking to the doctors, they were constantly saying, if your dad had, do you know what I mean? When he had that symptom, he would have, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that changed my mindset for me because of seeing the suffering that that suffering that he had and he didn't need to have, in my opinion.
So my dad died of cancer.
Yeah.
But he died of lung cancer. And when we found out when they were doing the autopsy. But at age 78, 79, he just had a 6-year-old child. Yeah, he just had a 6-year-old child. Yeah, seriously. Just had a 6-year-old child.
And Moses.
Listen. And he was still going out because he owned a boat business in Jamaica. Yeah. And he was working on V8 engine. He's lifting the engine by himself, everything. So he was still healthy and strong. Yeah. He didn't even know that he had cancer. Until we've done the autopsy, we found that he had cancer.
Could I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? Did your father ever moan about this pain here?
No, he didn't.
No?
Didn't.
Because
he's like me. If I get sick, just know that I'm sick. Otherwise, I'm working. I'm on the go. Keep on going. non-stop.
Even how small it could be, the smallest thing, there could be something wrong.
I know. The smallest thing can be something wrong and lead to something bigger. But as I said, if I feel a pain, I'm out there working same way. Because I do barrels, I lift barrels. So if my shoulder or my back is hurting me, I don't pay any mind. I still have to do my work.
Yeah.
You understand? Them still not touch me still.
You see, this is
Back to what you said about the Chris Hoyt.
Yeah.
I think in his book, he says what he's in the position that he's in, mainly through ignorance.
Yeah.
Right? Now, this podcast here, hopefully we can stop men, young boys like Richie, from being ignorant to the fact that they need to be checked out for prostate cancer. You know, it's something that you have to ask your doctor for at the moment to do it, because you could have a blood test, not necessarily say they're going to check your PSA levels.
Yeah.
nope.
Yeah.
You
no.
have to ask. You have to ask them to
Yeah.
for that PSA test.
Yeah.
That's
And this is-
important.
And this is what I'm saying, that ignorance can get people
Yeah.
dead.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Going about what you just said, but you have to ask your doctor for a blood test.
Yeah.
I used to be a fighter. You know, I have MOT every year, sometimes twice a year. I have never been doctors never tested me for a PSA test. But guess what? It's usually because they have to send away the tests and they have to be paid for. Right? I found this out later, right? They will do all the body tests, everything, but they won't do a PSA test. But if you ask them for a PSA test, they cannot refuse. Right? So that's very important. Right? I have listen, for years, I'm never sick. Never sick. Even my wife always said to me, "How come you're never sick?" I said, "The devil look after anyone." You understand what I mean? Never sick. The last 2 years, I'm not even sick now. No joke. I've been diagnosed. I can't feel anything. You understand what I mean? But if you ask for a PSA test, a doctor has got to give you a PSA test. It costs you nothing, and it doesn't hurt. Like I said, it's just a blood test. You understand what I mean? So anybody else listening, me no want. One of the things that stuck in my mind as well is there was a guy on WhatsApp, black guy on WhatsApp. I can't remember his name, and he said that he pointed that out to me. Not me personally, but it felt it was me. You must ask for a PSA test because they cannot refuse. And that quick little test, not take no time, not hurt you. You got nothing to lose. Yeah. They might turn out and say, you had nothing to worry about. Everything is fine. You go about your business.
But do you not think though, lads, that, and going back to what I was saying earlier about women have to have these routine tests. So maybe it's about time that, and I know that they'll talk about funding and all that, but let's put that aside. But maybe there should be a routine so that you get a letter through the post to say, Mr. X, you need to book an appointment for a PSA test. You need to go and see your GP. Do you know what I mean?
Sorry to interrupt you on that, but there is been stages now set right for that to happen, where blokes will get a regular update or regular check for PSA. Yeah. The other good thing about it, Richie, is by the time you're ready, they're going to do a self-test. There's a self-test coming out for PSA levels. Right. So the doctor won't have to. Yeah.
Still not got me.
I think, Clive, you mentioned it and mentioned regarding blood and what comes out of your body, which is not right, either stool or urine. I go to the club quite often, and on a Saturday night in the men's toilet, I see blood. Oh, wow. So someone in that group, even in right now, have something wrong with them. Whether they're going to the doctors or not, I don't know.
Do you know why? It's now 1 in 4.
That's what I said. Yeah,
no joke. It's because it's 1 in 4. There's 2, 4, 5 of us sitting around here, and it just happened to be 2 of us. You understand what I mean? But if you get a group of lads, and there's 5, 6 of you together, one of you going to have a problem. You understand what I mean? Yeah. And the earlier you check it, the better it is.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So you know we're talking today.
Yeah.
Do you talk in your own groups and spaces with other men?
No.
No, funny you should say that.
Yeah.
We've been talking like this in the barbers for ages.
Okay.
No joke.
Yeah.
In the barbers. And it's people like myself, people like yourself, or the usually see in the barbers. We're normally happy-go-lucky type of guys. And when we talk in the barbers, they will listen because it's our little space. You understand what I mean? And I'm happy to say the word is getting around, right? The word is getting around. You're getting people like Richie here who still got his own way, and you can't force anybody to do anything, but at least they are listening. Sometimes they'll go away and digest it and then do something about it. But I'm happy to say I heard about this in the barbers a while ago, even though I've heard it on the telly and picking it up other places, but we are talking more about things like that.
Moving forward, I'm in terms of, like Clive mentioned, go and get yourself tested, etc. But it opens up other avenues for testing. And what's revolved, I spoke to my brothers about this PSA.
Yeah.
And having taken blood tests, it revealed something else other than the prostate.
Okay.
It revealed that they had very high cholesterol, very high.
Yeah.
And it comes down to, also in conjunction, they take your blood pressure.
Yes. Yeah.
And that also reveals high blood pressure, high cholesterol, not good, and diabetic borderline.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when I asked that question, Paul said you said you don't talk to your peers about this.
No.
Can I just ask why? Like, why?
Do you know? I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
There's some of the guys that I kind of have conversations with. Our big conversation at the moment is mental health.
Okay. Yeah.
And I know we're going to talk about that on another thing, and that's something that's passionate for me. But our conversation is a mental health conversation in regards to, you know, that struggle in the mind for men. Because when I'm sat down kind of chatting to the guys, like, you know, I'm saying to them now, I'm talking to 15-year-old kids, you know, and I had my mental breakdown when I was like 42.
Yeah.
And it destroyed me. Do you know what I mean? Because people used to call me BP, Big Paul, right? When I used to do the doors and stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was 19 stone. I could box, martial arts, boxing, all them things like that. And I remember, you know, I used to, with mental health, I was like, nonsense them attack, man. I mean, if you just fix themselves up and stuff. And then suddenly it happened to me.
Yeah.
And when that happened to me, do you know what I mean? It changed a lot within me. But again, we'll talk about that on another thing, because I know we were going to talk about that on another podcast. But my thing at the moment, because what for me, a lot of people are coming to me because on my social media platforms, I've gone to men's groups and stuff and talked about my experience on that. So that tends to be more than the prostate. Okay. But when the Chris Hoy thing happened on the news, there was some talk on it.
Okay.
And there was blokes who were like, I'm going to get a leaflet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm going to, you know what I mean? So there was talk, like, you know, but it's not as much as safe, for instance, how like Bob was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably because he was super fit.
Yeah.
And people might think, oh, because you're fat, because you're skinny, because they think it's health that way.
Yeah.
He was super fit. If you've got to be a Olympic standard, world standard cyclist, you are one of the fittest people in the world. Yet he's come down with it. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
And like you, myself, Rugger, everybody, we're very fit people.
Yeah.
Very fit people. Trust me. I ain't gonna run a mile anymore. But what I'm saying is, it's not because you've done something where you eat wrong, or you don't train, or you're a slob. Nothing to do with that. You understand what I mean?
And that's the same with high blood pressure and cholesterol and that as well. Because people thinking sometimes when they see like that kind of beer belly type of man and stuff like that, and they're thinking, man, that guy must have high cholesterol. And sometimes he can go and have the test and said, the doctor said, me good. You know what I mean? But then you can see a guy who's slim like Richie, you know what I mean? And they say the cholesterol's through your roof, your blood pressure is, you know what I mean? So, you know.
And it make your hair go physically.
But you know what? I got something to say.
Yeah.
Do you think? I think this way.
Mm.
Yeah. It has to be down to what we eat also, because what we eat does do trigger to our bodies.
Mm.
I can't
Huh?
agree with you there.
Hey,
What was it?
AI is there.
I can't agree. I can't agree with you there because I eat healthy all my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Red meat. I don't do anything. I try to eat healthy all my life.
But you see me
understand
like
me?
Paul saying like the blood pressure, you know, if you eat something it can bring up the pressure, or if you worry too much it bring up the pressure.
To be fair,
Yeah.
when I did looked at some of the research and stuff, that was one of the factors. It mentioned your lifestyle, so plenty of exercise, how you eat, and it also suggests that that's why our community in particular is 1 in 4, is because of our food that we eat, what we eat, how we eat it, how we cook with salt and so on. So those sort of things. So yeah.
But I think, and then without keep going back, going back to what Richie said.
Yeah.
You know, you look at Sir Chris Hoy. Remember he was an Olympian for 25 years. You know, 2 decades and a half. And we don't know what he did before that. And when you're at that level there, you know, for me, you know, I only eat red meat once a week, fish and protein, try to eat vegetables and stuff like that. And there's a lot of black guys that are in the gyms and stuff like that, and they're all training and stuff like that, but people are still falling down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that I think it's important that we don't get into that narrative of saying that it can be food, because I just think that what shocked me is that what Curtis said about his father and it being hereditary. That is probably something that I will take tonight, and I will be like phoning my brothers, and I'm saying, and even though it's not in our family, but I will be certainly saying that to a lot of my black friends and stuff, to say, well, listen, if your dad did have, I've learned to honor that this, so that's my thing that I'm going to take away. So I think we just, you know, I think there's just so many things you can take from here.
Boy, if me start make that phone call done until tomorrow morning. Too much brother and sister them for call. Too much.
So this is another question. So there's 3 females in the room. Okay, so what can we do to support our males and kind of give some support and advice and things like that? What can we do? Don't say what you're thinking.
I think if we as men speak to our females, they just have to be there and support us. Just be there.
Okay.
Well,
Understanding.
It's funny you said understand and listen to me. Sorry, right?
Oh, no. What are you saying?
One doctor tell me.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm a lie. I don't know if I tell the truth. All him says, the more sex you have.
Oh gosh.
The more better it is.
But just I say what I'm told. He said the more sex you have, the less chance you have to catch it or get it. No joke, this one tell me. Yeah, because you reckon you release more things.
Yeah.
So Charlene, hiya, hallelujah. Thank you for that information, Clive. Hallelujah, sir.
I'll take that £10 later.
Yeah, man, no problem.
Listen, I'm telling you what I've heard, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know how true it is. I'm sure you do all your research. You might be able to find out different. But they told me when we're younger, we have more sex than that. And as you get older, you have less sex. So it's got something to do with the glands that produce your semen or something like that.
That's correct, yep.
All I'm saying is, me get a little more, me might... No, but seriously, that's what I was told. So please do some research and see if it's true. Are true. All right. Mike.
Yeah, they reckon that semen is what actually causes the cancer. So obviously you're right. Getting rid of it as often as you can can help to reduce your risk. But that is no excuse for you to go jump on your woman tonight.
Did you say excuse to do your risk?
But I think going back to your original question in regards to the support thing, I think that Most partners are supportive.
Yeah.
I think most partners are supportive if you're going through something.
I think if you're going through this illness, you definitely have to have your partner's support, because without that, it makes it a hell of a lot difficult and hard. You know. Yeah, it's good for your mental health. They'll help you to do what you need to do.
Nice. No, I agree 100%. Right.
Yeah.
As you know, something, I think this has affected my partner more than me,
Okay.
because I'm, like I said, I'm not usually ill,
Yeah.
and now she knows there's something wrong. So I think me trying to remain upbeat help her a little bit. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
My stepchildren, my children, they're all, I tell them all what's happening, and they're all behind me 100%. And that makes a big difference. It makes me feel brilliant. It means I've done something right, because the kids are worried about me for a change. You understand what I mean? So if your partner's with you, it makes things a lot easier.
Now forward back to what you said earlier, right? Yeah. It's them two ladies in the background, the tech one and the management. Yeah. But Annie Palmer and them 5 daughters. No. Yeah. Upon that. Yeah. But yeah. So the support from your partner itself is really, really good to have. You know what I mean? You're ill, even if you're not ill, it's good. And it's help with your mental health at the same time.
Definitely.
Yeah. It's part of the cure. I wouldn't say part of the cure. It's more easier.
No, it's part of the cure. Definitely part of the cure.
It's easier. It's easier. Make it more easier so you don't worry about it.
Yes.
Yeah. It don't make you stressing about it or anything like that. You get up in the morning, you still do what you do. Nighttime, if you want dugu, you have an idea, you want dugu, yeah. You get me? But it does help when a partner is there to support in every forms needed.
But you know what? Not everybody has a partner. So I need to ask you 5 men. If somebody was out there and they needed some support or help, would you be willing?
There's a phone line now.
Of course.
The Macmillan Cancer Trust.
Yeah.
If you phone them up, right, they will get somebody who's actually going through what you've been through to talk to you over the phone.
Okay.
And I found that helpful when
Yeah.
I first found out that I got it.
Okay.
And one of the best people to talk to is people who've gone through this.
Yeah.
You understand me?
Which is
Like I said, I was surprised to find out how many of my friends have been through this. And what I've been doing is, when the hospital tell me they're going to do a certain procedure, first thing I do, phone them up. Yeah, no joking, phone them up. I've talked to one in St. Lucia at the moment, and he's gone back because he's dead. And I asked him about, what does this mean? What they going to do? One, I can't tell you sometimes. When I had to have a biopsy, and we're both kickboxers, right? And I said, what would you advise me to do? And he said, bring your gum shield. You know, but we do talk to each other, and the best people to give you advice, even though the doctors are giving you advice, a lot of them ain't gone through it.
Yeah.
But if you know somebody who's gone through it, they will gladly, well, I know I'm lucky that way. They will gladly explain to you what to expect, and they know what you're like. We're all individuals and we're all a little bit different.
Yeah.
But your friends will know you for good, and they can run joke with things that to other people might sound, oh my God, I can't.
Yeah.
He said to me, bring your gum shield. And guess what? I forgot to bring my gum shield.
Oh gosh.
And when it started, I remembered, right, which I bring my gum shield.
Oh gosh.
You understand what I mean? But talk to your friends. If you haven't got, we guys here, you've all got a number. We are Arawak group. Talk to any of us. We will help you any way we can. Yeah.
So, Clive.
You chat enough in it, man. Come.
Chat enough, yeah. Yeah, chat enough. No, but you know what? It's open for what of Clive's been speaking about, and it's open at different levels of friendship. Because you're your friends, you talk about kickboxing, rugby, electrician. You know, you guys talk about that. But now you found that you have the situation is open you levels to a different type of friendship now. Yeah. But you're still your friend tell him carry the gum shield.
Carry the gum shield, man. We forget.
But
How will you do?
Can I ask Clive and Curtis? Before both of you had this procedure, or knew that you had it. I mean, obviously, your father. So you were were you a bit aware about it because your dad had it?
Well, to be truthful, like most blokes, I totally ignored it.
Yeah.
I ignored the fact that my father had actually had it.
Right.
And it was my sister, who is a nurse, that explained to me about the hereditary and the gene that is passed on from male to male.
Right.
And when I found out, I actually did go first of all privately to get myself examined.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
So I do that, the man them touch you.
Oh, I see you.
Listen.
You got one of them Africans with a tree trunk finger.
Big sausage finger.
Yeah.
No, listen. My dad.
You'll need more than a gum shield.
My dad had stomach cancer.
Right.
Yeah.
You understand me?
Yeah.
And he died of stomach cancer. My sister was in America, phoned me up and said, you need to go and have a polyp test. Never heard of what a polyp test was. Spoke to the doctor. Straight away, they gave me a polyp test. I was clear. Everything's fine. But before that, I knew nothing about it. He had a stomach cancer. I know my sister had another stomach cancer, but nothing to do with anything like this. You understand me? This is a whole completely new thing to me. You understand me? And I don't think because you've got stomach cancer it's any relation to down there at all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I intend to inform my children about this gene that we carry, and I hope that you guys, if you got, you're doing exactly the same.
Yeah. I mean, 100%. I mean, my 3 daughters and 1 son, but I have nephews and stuff, and it's a conversation that I have with them, and they're of the same kind of mindset as kind of Richie in the sense of But you know what? The science now is moving so fast. Like Clive said earlier, now he's just taking that little pill. All of us, bar Richie isn't probably old enough to remember, but the rest of us will remember, for example, when people were dying of HIV.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And now you can have people with HIV are living a normal life. They're living a normal life, and the science is changing all the time, and the developments and things like that are happening all the time. And I think that, yes, at the moment there is that uncomfortable part of it, but we say that it's down the line. And I'm sure that in time, the science will be able to look at other ways of identifying and stuff like that. So that really can be looked at. You understand what I mean? In regards to how development is and stuff like that. But to answer your question, talking to my youngers, yes, I definitely will.
Yeah.
And like you just mentioned about the science, right? My brother has got blood cancer. You understand me? He's got a bag of medicine. No joke. He have a whole bag of medicine. And when he asked me, what am I taking? I told him 1 little pill. He was pissed. You understand me? He was not a happy man. And that's in 5 years, it's gone from a bag of medicine like a walking chemist to 1 pill. You understand me? And it's not even a big pill now, there's a little tiny pill. Sometimes I'm not even sure if it'll work because it's so small. You understand me? But you're right, the science is really moving fast when it comes to cancer.
So, we're coming to the last bit now. And obviously time run out because you chat enough. What would you take away? Like if you could just give 1 point to the listeners that they should kind of take away as well, what would you say to them?
Please go to your doctor. If you don't feel nothing different in your life, you have nothing to lose. Yeah?
Be aware.
Okay.
Be aware. Find out about the symptoms, just in case you have them, because 9 out of 10 blokes don't even realise what symptoms they've got or if they've got it or not.
Yeah.
But if they think they have, a blood test is nothing.
Mm.
Could save their life.
100. What about yourself, Richie?
Take the knowledge of
Mm.
what is available.
For me, it's what I'll take away is what Curtis has told us
Yeah.
tonight about the hereditary.
Yeah.
But I would also say to any men out there that are, once they reach between 40 and 45, go down to your doctor and say, I'd like an MOT. I want everything testing, just put including
Yeah.
PSA.
Richie. He said, yeah.
So, to the listeners them out there, yeah?
Mm.
Listen to what them I say. Yeah, listen to them very good. But me, I tell you from now, nobody not touch me. Yeah, nobody not touch me.
So I want to say thank you guys for being so open and honest, okay? Because I
welcome.
know it can be difficult to talk and so on, especially about down there and rare. But I do appreciate everything, that you spoke about. And, hopefully we can save one person's life, Yeah. That's it.
Also,
Oh, gosh, man. Chat Nuff, come.
oh, yeah, no. Yeah, we're chatting off, yeah?
Hey.
All right.
Bye, people. Say bye, everyone.
See you later. Oh, do remember, check out us on Facebook, yeah? Arawak Community Trust, all right? Thank you very much.